All right, we're back as promised, and on the AT&T iPhone, the legend of Bernie Allen, 2 years ago, enshrined into the Upper Ohio Valley Lou Holtz Hall of Fame. And according to Josh Ludwig, who knows Potter Sports, the head coach of East Liverpool Potter football team, and Digger Dawson, who is East Liverpool Sports, the greatest all-around athlete in the history of East Liverpool High School. Bernie, how's that make you feel when you hear that?
Well, I don't know if I really believe that or not, but I appreciate it, though.
Well, who would you think might give you a run for your money as far as best athlete in the history of East Liverpool?
Well, I don't know. I've never really sat down to think about it, but there's a lot of good ones when I was growing up that I kind of watched and tried to learn from, just the way they act. And one of them was Bob McCoy. Another one was Eddie Oliver. And then there was Jenkins. They all went on to play in college, and mainly football. And I guess a lot of them didn't play all the sports like I did, I guess.
You know, one of the things, and I'm going to let Josh jump in here, and of course Digger's going to strike up the band. He's got a lot of stuff to talk to you about. But one of the things that amazes...
You know too much about me.
And it's all good, believe me. But the real reason we want to talk about Tito Francona, and they call him Tito too, the son, but we're talking about his dad, who you played against during your days in Major League Baseball, kind of celebrating Cleveland getting into the World Series as they were winners against Toronto earlier today in Game 5 of the American League Championship Series. But what amazes me the most about you, and I'm surprised I didn't know this, but I knew of your baseball ability, but you played football at Purdue. And when I think of Purdue, I think of two people. John Luckhart, the former coach of Cal U, California, Pennsylvania. He was a center, but more importantly, the guy he was snapping the football to, none other than Bob Greasy of the Miami Dolphins. Tell me about what it was like going from East Liverpool, this wonderful bedroom community, to play for the power that is Purdue. What was that like, Bernie?
Well, back then, freshmen weren't eligible to play, and so we were used as the fodder for playing the Brennan Mill opponent's place against the varsity. And I started out as the number 6 quarterback on the freshman team and ended up being the MVP. But then I got a chance to play against the varsity and throw some balls against them. And Purdue at that time had the number 1 defense in the nation. So I had to take some real good hits, but it was fun playing against them. And then we also had one guy that I knew of before I even went to Purdue. Was the only reason I heard of Purdue was Lenny Dawson, who was from Alliance, Ohio. And so I knew Purdue that way. And then we had a good football team. When I played there, we would beat you if you were favored to beat us. We'd probably beat you, but if we were the favorite, we probably would lose to you. But we always knocked off some of the big teams.
Well, listen, I'm going to let Coach talk real quick here because I know he wants to jump in. We've got chills. I know at least I do. That's a heck of a story. And another reason why you're one of East Liverpool's all-time favorites. And then I'm going to let Digger jump in, and then we're going to finish by talking baseball. But explain to the audience, to come from a town like East Liverpool, which had about 25,000 people in it back then, in the pottery capital of the world, and it was a different landscape, but still, to go from East Liverpool to play at Purdue. And you played Mount Union, which is pretty good, but what he did is absolutely amazing. Huh?
I can't think of the last. The last guy would be Dan Beatty, that played Division I football. Dan Beatty would have been like 88, 89, 90, 80, 87, 80, 85.
Ohio State?
Played at Ohio State. He ended up being a captain at Ohio State his senior year. So, but other than that, we're talking 31 years later, we still haven't had a big-time D1 football player. So it's few and far between.
Okay, Digger, you and your buddy talk a little bit here. Digger, what was it like watching him evolve into this MVP at Purdue and then matriculate to the major leagues?
Well, proudly, I taught him everything he knows. Actually, Bernie was a high school 5th grade drum major. so frail and skinny that we never thought he was going to do anything. But he could always throw the baton over the goalpost, and I think he has all his front teeth still. But he emulated as a quarterback for the Potters, playing behind Jim Potts in 1955, who was also one of our outstanding players. His senior year at East Liverpool High School, 1956, Bernie led the team to the most points ever scored by a Potter football team, 407 points. We lost 2 games that year because I believe, Bernie, you were injured and couldn't kick conversion kicks. He is our all-time with 76 extra points leader, and that was before the 2-point conversion. So he converted 76 times, but the games in his senior year, the 2 games we lost, he was unable to kick. Went on, of course, to a great basketball player, 10 years in the majors, played at Purdue, was an MVP, and Bernie, I know you're playing a lot of the old-timer golf outings, and you've got probably about a 1 or 2 handicap, but I know that Lenny Dawson played there, the Greaseys played there, some of the other quarterbacks under Jack Mollenkoff when he was the quarterback coach. Bring those to mind.
Well, Lenny Dawson, and then Bob Greasy, Mike Phipps. In fact, I coached Bob Greasy when he was a freshman at Purdue. And let me see, Gary Danielson. And I think he was still under Mollenkoff. I'm not sure. But they had some other ones, Jim Everett and a few other ones, Mark Herman, who, but they weren't always under Mollenkoff, and of course, the latest one was Drew Brees, who's done pretty good.
Quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, now let's talk the real reason why you're here, sir, and that's baseball. You played in the major leagues, but you also played against Cleveland many times, and at that time, it was Tito Francona from New Brighton, who is enjoying, I'm sure, with his lovely bride tonight there on Penn Avenue in New Brighton, celebrating their son, meaning Terry, who has just taken Cleveland to the World Series for the first time since 1997. And, you know, Progressive Insurance, the Cooper family, obviously here in town, and Drew, a midshipman graduate, is doing a lot of wonderful things in the community as well. And, of course, his father, Steve. The field in Cleveland is known as Progressive Field, and this will be the very first time that they host a World Series game at Progressive Field. What was Tito Francona, the player, like? He, like you, a quarterback in high school, a great golfer, but it really was baseball, his specialty. And he had an amazing swing, and he taught his son a whole lot too, because his son, if he doesn't injure his knees as a very young player in the game, I think he ends up having much more than an 11-year career and a career batting average of .274. He, too, a fabulous athlete, could golf, never played basketball until his junior year, led the WPIL in scoring, and, of course, just an amazing baseball player. He won the College World Series with his teammates at Arizona, and then, of course, was drafted by Montreal into Major League Baseball. And he did, as I mentioned, also spend time with Cleveland as a player in '87. So what was it like, Bernie, playing against Tito Francona in the 60s at that municipal stadium, that monstrosity, 80,000-seat stadium in Cleveland?
Well, when I was growing up, Cleveland Indians were my team. I always rooted for Cleveland. And so I knew of Tito by the time I got to the major leagues. And I played for the Twins for 5 years, and then for the old Washington Senators for 5 years. So I don't know, we played against each other quite often. Tito was always a real good hitter, and a real fine gentleman too. So we talked to one another, and I got to know him a little bit since we come from the same area. And I always thought he was a very good ball player. And then his son comes in, but he was a little bit after I got out. I finished my career almost 2 years with the Yankees, and then another 6 weeks. The last 6 weeks I spent with the Montreal Expos, and I knew of Terry because they were talking about him when I was there. But I retired after that year, and I think he came up a year or two after that.
Listen.
Yeah, so I never got to meet Terry, but I've known Tito for quite a while.
Well, if you met Tito, you know Terry, because they really are the same. It's amazing. Listen, I can't thank you enough. Have a great rest of your night, and we appreciate you joining us tonight, okay?
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, there you go. Thanks to the coach and his AT&T iPhone. I'm going to share one story, and we're going to say goodnight. My friend Bobby McDaniel's dad, Bunky McDaniel, who passed away recently, was good friends with Ray Tannehill, longtime anchor in Pittsburgh, of course, KDK TV2, and then Channel 11 WIIC, which is now WPXI. They were high school buddies, meaning Ray and Tito. Tito's still living, doing rather well. We love him. And Ray, they were inseparable. They were always together. So he signs Major League Baseball. All right? They decide to go look at Cadillacs, at the Cadillac dealership in Beaver Falls. So the gentleman who was showing him around the lot, after about an hour or so, finally said, okay, guys, look, enough already. I got to go to work. I got to make a living. When you figure out what the heck you're doing here, or better yet, go get your dad and come back and let him buy the Cadillac. Tito said, we'll take that one over there, and peeled off the money. And he and Ray drove out of Beaver Falls in a brand new Cadillac. Great, great respect for that family. It really is exciting. And as I mentioned, if you're a fan of Dunham's, as I am, they have one right here in East Liverpool, the Calcutta area. I was there earlier tonight. They're going to have a whole new shipment of hoodies and shirts and hats coming this weekend. So, hey, good luck to the tribe, and I'm sure we'll have much more on it as we move forward, and they do, into the Fall Classic. Good night from Legacy Studios in East Liverpool, Ohio.